This is your Chargers linebacker, Dan Henley, and you're tuning in with Chargers Unleashed.
Welcome to another edition of Chargers Unleashed. Jake Hefner and Dan Wolkenstein here with you from the LAFB Network. If this is your first time tuning in the show, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button on YouTube. You can also follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. Dan Wolkenstein. We might be a little bit late to this show, but wow, what a Thursday night football game that it was for the Los Angeles Chargers, their final home game of the season. Definitely not without some stress, as there normally is in all Chargers games. But what a staple win for this Chargers offense. Justin Herbert leading a great comeback, coming down from 11 points in the third quarter to defeat the Denver Broncos. Dan, there were so many aspects of this game that going into it to say things that needed to be changed with this offense, the way that it had been playing over the last month. And this was the full complement of 4 quarters of offense that we finally got an opportunity to see. You were there at SoFi. Atmosphere was nuts. The feeling after the game was nuts. Give me just a little bit of what the atmosphere was like with the Charger fans at SoFi.
Oh, my goodness, Jake. Chargers fans, welcome to Chargers Unleashed. SoFi was absolutely bonkers on Thursday night. We'll get to all of it. The vibes, we'll get to the storylines, all of it. Chargers Unleashed fans, Chargers fans, you know how it goes. This is a live show. If you have any questions, comments, thoughts, put them in the chat. We'll do our best to kind of bring them in. Jake, we have 16 voicemails. 16 voicemails from Chargers fans we're going to try to get to today. Wow. And I gotta preface a little bit of this. Let's remember to try to keep it respectful. That's after I took away some of them that had far too many expletives and disrespectful things put in there. So 16 that made the cut, if you will. But, Jake, I think Chargers fans were all in agreement that first half felt like, I think I tweeted about it, it was the disaster bingo card, just checking off box after box after box after box. And it wasn't looking pretty. And SoFi went from really buzzing to crickets. And Chargers fans showed out, by the way. So fun. By the time that things rolled around, Chargers fans were crazy on Thursday night, second half, third quarter, fourth quarter. Justin Herbert goes God mode. Broncos fans go home unhappy, swept by the Chargers. Chargers now 9-6. Defense holds strong at the end of that game. Heck, towards the end of the first half, through the end of the game. I was wrong. Chargers did win the game. I went with my head and my heart lost, but my heart won come Thursday. Chargers fans, that just happened. Jake, before we get to all of the crazy, let's pay the bills. Let's talk about our friends. We got 16 voicemails. We'll get to the chat here. We have some apologies from Athir at some point. He went a little hot earlier this week. So much excitement, so many vibes, and Clark Kent turned Superman. But before that, Jake, let's pay the bills.
I want to remind everybody that BetOnline is the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for everything football. BetOnline is every stat, every matchup, but even live odds and spreads to bet on during the games. You think you know your stuff? Get in on a $200,000 mega contest and pick 5 games against the spread every single week for your chance at weekly prizes and a share of up to $200K. When the game is over, head on over to our online casino and get on a game of blackjack or poker on one of our 150 slot games. Head on over to the website today. That's betonline.ag to get in on the action. BetOnline, the game starts here.
I think all of us were biting our nails a little bit. I think all of us were a little irate, ballistic, upset, stressed, worried, scared, sad, whatever description you want.
Yep.
21-10. And going back and watching that game after it was over again, it was so infuriating the way this Chargers team was enabling Bo Nix to seemingly do as close to nothing as possible. and still somehow have 21 points. And, we all want to sit here and call the defense awful at the beginning. But again, you look back at that game.
It was.
But
if
you look back at that game and you watch for a second, there were like back-breaking individual plays that kept those series alive for touchdowns. There was I remember there's a 3rd and 11 check down that goes 12. Ridiculous to a running back, turns into first down. There was the Bo Nix scramble up the middle on 3rd and something, turns into a first down. There was the 3rd down stop, turns into a 4th down conversion, again, seemingly every week. They were right there. Like, it was there. But again, like, fact is, they give up 3 touchdowns. But then after that, I think it was 2 field goals and I think 6 or 7 punts. Or 5 punts, excuse me. The rest of the game, including the last 2 drives of the second half for the defense. They held strong. They kept it in it. And Justin Herbert went God mode. One bad decision. Other than that, it was pretty electric. There are so many unsung and Kelly Clarkson singing heroes in this game. We'll get to all of them. Jake, what was it like for you watching what looked like a surefire loss turn into just a 5-point deficit, and then somehow Josh Palmer goes crazy and they get the 2-point conversion to go up 3? We'll get to the kickoff stuff here in a sec, or the free kick, excuse me. But what was that like for you? That table turning moment of game's over to, well, it's a game now, to what? Wait, what? They're winning?
Dan, I think you go back to just how that game started. That was one of the easiest 6-minute drives I had seen put on this defense all season. And like you said, it was 8 runs and 2 passes. Bo Nix didn't really have to do anything. And it took a good chunk of time off the clock to open it. Now, thankfully for the Chargers, they came back and they immediately responded. But the defense wasn't stopping Denver. 21 unanswered points. And you're going back to, oh my God, here we go again with seemingly the same type of defensive performance that you're just coming off of the humiliating loss against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, where you allow 5 straight scores at the end of that game. You're allowing 3 straight scores to begin this game. And you're like, oh, if this becomes a shootout, you saw how it was the week prior and your confidence level is not that high. And the Chargers
didn't help. Injuries
did not help. Denzel Perryman was active for the game, but ended up barely being in the game, unfortunately.
Tweak something.
And you find yourself at an 11-point hole very quickly with the Denver Broncos driving again. And they were in position that they could have put the Chargers they probably could have put the game away if they had scored on that next drive. But they didn't.
That shoe never fell.
And then something changed. It's to think that apropos, the momentum gets kicked off for the Chargers by one of the rarest plays ever seen in the NFL, the free kick at the end of the half, which, Dan, if you saw or heard the comments of everybody in the locker room when they were asking questions like, hey, were you familiar with this play and whatnot? And most of the players are like, I didn't even know what that play existed. I didn't know what the hell they were talking about. And then when they asked Jim Harbaugh's like, yeah, it's my favorite play.
He talked about it for 10 minutes.
so Jim Harbaugh. But to have Cameron Dicker just be as nails as he is, to drill a 57-yard free kick, to give the Chargers a little bit more, not only do you feel better getting those points at the end of the half, but that completely was the spark that changed the adjustments in halftime, both offensively and defensively for this team.
So to give you a little glimpse for those who are not at SoFi, the stadium was completely dumbfounded that entire sequence, because if I remember right, it looked like initially they were going to go for a Hail Mary. You see Justin Herbert out there, and then you see Cameron Dicker go out there with the field goal unit. And I think it was a timeout called. And throughout all of this, you can see the coaching staff kind of figuring out what they're going to do. Then I think there was a TV timeout. Then you see them lining up for a kickoff type thing. You're like, what is happening here? And then you're watching Cameron Dicker cool the other side of the pillow, crush that thing. That was probably good from 70, honestly. Smoked it and didn't even flinch. And you saw and you heard post-game how big that was to the momentum, to the confidence, to the change in trajectory of that game. To have those free 3 points at the end, given all of the headwinds that they went through. And there's, by the way, if you haven't gone, credit to the Chargers photography team. They're unbelievable. And so huge shout out to them for the photos they're able to get. Amazing from this last game. I picked this one first for two reasons. Obviously, Cameron Dicker is going crazy. But it's fun seeing this new Quentin Johnston. And did he have a drop in that game? Yes. But he also had a crucial catch or two in that game, one of which didn't count because he got a penalty that was negating it anyways for a first down. But you're seeing a confident Quentin Johnston. And you talk about this team rallying together, how everyone on that Chargers team went nuts with and for Cameron Dicker. And you see Quentin, one of the first ones out there afterwards to congratulate and to high five Cameron Dicker for that field goal. To cut it to 8, massive. Absolutely massive. Considering they had just on an interception, the Chargers defense gets 2 stops in a row. They get a free 3 points off of a kick that no one's seen in 50 years. But then you're thinking, man, this Chargers team, they're still going to be on defense first. And then I think they go, like a 7-minute drive in the second half?
Took half the third quarter. I mean, it still took it was still a while until the Chargers actually had the ball again, because Denver starts the second half with the ball. They come out and they start doing exactly what they were doing in the first half. And you're just watching the clock just get drained here. And you're like thinking to yourself that every single possession that the Chargers have, they're going to have to score to stay in this game. And then the Chargers ultimately get a stop. Denver Broncos are able to get 3 points off of it, so they're back up 11. Then everything changes.
Jake, let's get some voicemails real quick, and they'll get some of these comments and questions. There's a lot of them here, folks, so I might have to cut some of these short because there's too many, which is a great problem to have. Either that, or maybe we'll save some for the next show. Jake, let's do first voicemail. Again, for folks who have not done so, you can always join the fun. Chargers Unleashed Hotline, 323-902-7586. Again, 323-902-7586. Call in 30 seconds, please. 30 seconds or less, maybe 35. Some of these 3-minute, 4-minute voicemails we just can't do. I'm sorry. I know your feelings. Also, while we go through these, remember, there is a giveaway. It's sitting here to my left that we'll be discussing here momentarily. Signed jersey. Let's get the first voicemail. Jake, ready? Let's have some fun.
Let's do it.
First voicemail from the Chargers Unleashed Hotline. Let's hear what that say.
Yo, this is Riggsy from the UK. What an incredible game. What an incredible adjustment at halftime. I was about to go to sleep since it was like 3 a.m. over here. But what an incredible adjustment. We really need to take that into these next 2 games and really show what we're made of. Really start to level up for the playoffs now. Let's get into it. Get up your bolt, fam. Let's go.
Shout out for the UK.
Dan, I was telling you how important these last 2 weeks have been, especially after losing that game to Tampa Bay in the fashion that you did. It made this game that much more important. I know mathematically that if the Chargers had lost this Thursday night football game, that their chances of the playoffs were not dead. They would just have to win out their final 2 games in order to do so. Now there's just so much levity as it relates to the next 2 weeks. Not to say that the Chargers are not going to show up and play, but the Chargers can actually clinch a playoff spot tomorrow. If certain things end up falling, if Miami loses, if Indianapolis loses, they can officially clinch a playoff spot come tomorrow. But obviously, I would want to, from the Chargers standpoint, to go in, handle business against New England next week. Then you can take that final week against the Raiders, rest some key players as you gear up for the playoffs, something the Chargers have not gotten an opportunity to do. and then made the choice not to do them some years ago, if we all remember that. So it was a huge win, Dan. Honestly, it goes beyond playoff implications, in my opinion, what that game meant. It shut a lot of people up. It dropped a narrative about the Chargers. It changed a narrative about Justin Herbert as well. Look, whatever the hell that new brace was that he was wearing on his right foot, he almost wished he was wearing that the week before, because we were all thinking to ourselves, hey, Justin's going to be back there. You're going to have to scheme this up in order to be able to protect him. And he didn't look like that was a sprained ankle to me, because the Chargers ran a lot more play action, Dan, in this game. If I remember correctly, it was about 48% of play action that they ran. And especially in that second half and against the Denver Broncos defense, it confused them and allowed guys to get open. When Justin Herbert started getting those scrambles for positive yardage, one of the ones that he ran earlier in the game for 11, and then, of course, the one late that he sprung for 16, it just opens up so many different things for a defense to remain honest. And you're talking about one of the best defensive fronts in the league, the ones that actually lead the league in sacks. And yes, they got to Justin Herbert a couple times. And yes, the interior of that offensive line looked pretty bad as it relates to both pass blocking and run blocking. But even still, from a schematic standpoint, you got to tip your hat to Greg Roman and what he was able to craft in the second half, because this was one of the few games of the season where not only did the Chargers able to put up points in all four quarters of the game, something that we've been harping on for seemingly the entire season, but in terms of adapting to what the Chargers were doing or what their scheme was in the first, to then essentially elevate it in the second half. And against this defense, against Patrick Surtain, who really didn't hear Patrick Surtain's name at all in this game.
I think he had 3 receptions on him for like 18 yards or something.
I thought in general the game plan was phenomenal from Greg Roman in terms of what he was able to do. And I know that he has said this previously, when Justin is healthy, it opens up their playbook a lot more. And credit to Justin Herbert and that new brace that he put on his right ankle, because he was able to make things happen. He hit another gear in that second half.
I mean, Justin Herbert goes God mode. And Matthew Dahl, $5 donation. Thank you. Yeah, we all heard it. We all saw it. We've seen this for years now, whether it's the Achos of the world, the Nick Wrights of the world, the folks over Miami talking stupid stuff, saying Justin's not clutch or not elite. I'll just read Matthew's $5 donation super chat. Where you at, Fitzpatrick? Prime pregame show disrespects Herbert, how he's not clutch and not elite. And Herbert says, hold my beer in the second half. And then the best part of how ironic and how petty that whole thing was post-game. Justin should have been at that stage. Justin should have been at the desk.
You know what? First of all, if you know Justin, you know how much he hates being front in the camera. General.
I know, but that would have been such a moment.
If you take a snapshot of when Derwin James and Ladd McConkey are up there at the podium, when the camera is focused towards Fitzpatrick, who's standing right behind Derwin James, the look on his face is literally just he's feeling.
It was the Michael Jordan meme.
He's feeling in that moment, please don't say anything to me about Justin Herbert. He just looked like he wanted to get out of there as quickly as possible, especially with 2 of his teammates up there. It's like, please don't ask me anything about Justin Herbert. Great. Yes. Good. We're off the air. All right. Goodbye.
Yeah. If you haven't seen it, there's like a 4-minute segment with Colin Cowherd that kind of just talks the whole narrative of Justin Herbert and what he's done and what he's doing it with or without from a support standpoint. If people want to still talk this way about Justin, like, they just don't know football, or they don't care, or they don't watch. It's one of the 3. And we'll talk about the dots. Justin was spraying all over the place. I mean, it was like, I don't know, man. It was like Halloween, just putting dot candies everywhere. But Jake, I think let's get to another voicemail. Then we'll announce the giveaway after the magician strikes again. Next voicemail on the Chargers Unleashed Hotline. Let's hear what that say.
That's how you respond. That's how you respond adversity. After that first half, whatever was going on, that's how you respond in the second half. Man, that's a good dub. The culture is real over there in that building. Chargers fans, enjoy this Thursday win and enjoy the rest of the weekend. Both up.
That was the big question coming into this, Dan. How do you respond?
Response required was the question.
But early on, it didn't seem like there was much response until you got to halftime. And we talked about the difference of, again, this is what's been just one of the little frustrating aspects about this team this season. Because you go back to a week ago, or excuse me, last Sunday. Chargers are going into halftime with a lead 17-13 against the Buccaneers. And then just completely disappeared in the second half on both sides of the ball and failed in all three facets of it. Now, you were able to perform better in the face of adversity. Again, getting off to a slow, seemingly start, find yourself in an 11-point hole. But whatever the hell was said at halftime this week, I don't know what it was. All I know is I know Derwin James had plenty to say.
I was going to say, I think he took over.
And if that's the case, then give him the mic at every single halftime, please, because they came out there with a different attitude, both offensively and defensively in the next half.
We've gone 20 minutes, Jake. We haven't even talked about some of the ridiculous throws that you saw Justin Herbert displaying out there. And like, I know everyone realizes, and I hope at least, like, this is not normal. This is so not normal. And you can go from the casual passes to the non-casual, quote unquote, passes. This guy is an absolute machine. And again, shout out to the Chargers social or photography team, because they got so many good glimpses of like how precise Justin was in this game. And again, he had one bad decision in that interception in the red zone, which is so uncharacteristic for Justin. Other than that, he was as close to perfect as you could possibly be. And you go back and watch the replays, and you see how pinpoint accurate this dude is on some of these throws. I mean, look at this. And you go back and watch when Josh Palmer catches this, I think he hits like the 3-yard line. There are like 3 dudes all circling him. And he somehow gets this perfectly in his hands. And you go back, there's another one, Ladder Conkey. You can't place this ball any better. It is in those hands. He's looking. Justin Herbert. Then we got the Darius Davis one, which we'll get to, where that's like Sports Center top 10.
Stone Smart had another great grab on one of his big patches. I mean, it was borderline fingertip grabs.
Yep. Justin Herbert was automatic. And what they were able to do to get that touchdown, and again, shout out to the photography team. After that touchdown from Gus Edwards, I believe it was Gus Edwards that got it to, or was it Darius that got them the lead? That 2-point conversion attempt, the catch, the tip, the other tip, then the catch, then the toe drag, had that whole place going crazy. And through all of it, Josh Palmer got this Chargers team to somehow be up by 3. Cue in the Chargers Unleashed giveaway for this week. Unsung hero number 1, Josh Palmer. We've got a Josh Palmer signed custom jersey here. Authentic. Got the sticker. Got all of it. We'll be announcing the giveaway. This is what's coming next. Josh Palmer absolutely bails out the Chargers with a miracle. And you see Bradley Bozeman. Like, what just happened? If you watch the replay, you look at Lad McConkey afterwards, like, holy shit, he got it. Everyone on the sidelines going nuts. The stadium is blowing up. That ball went through seemingly 3 different sets of hands. Looked like it went past McConkey, it went past the defender, it went past the tight end, into Palmer's hands for the tip, then goes in. And this was one of those moments where you see this Chargers team on the other side of it so many times. Hell, even against the Broncos. You remember that Cortland Sutton catch? I think it was last year, I believe. Like one-handed, you're like, how the heck does this always happen? Chargers go God mode. Slam the door. We haven't even talked about the Darius Davis one.
That's what I was gonna say. Let's go back to the throw. Let's just call it the throw. We all know which throw we're talking about. I mean, yeah, what can you say about this? Honestly, there's very few that could make this type of a play happen that Justin Herbert ended up making. The degree of difficulty to, on one ankle, to move out to your left and seemingly be in the midst of getting tackled and get this throw off with enough power, strength, force to keep it from sailing out of bounds in the way that you're falling. And not only keep it in bounds, but it's on a rope. It's on a damn rope. And the whole way that this play, even in the first place, ends up coming about, you watch Darius Davis that entire play, and he's literally just goes to the side as like the last outlet option, as if it's going to be a screen pass. And then he blows up field. And whatever Justin Herbert didn't see whatever he saw in coverage that he didn't like on the right side, and then, of course, was forced out of the pocket due to the pass rush. And then to make that type of a throw under those circumstances is just absolutely unreal.
You saw it all over social media, too. All over sports, and everyone talked about that play. And again, imagine if that was Mahomes throwing that, how long we'd be talking about this or hearing about this. People underestimate just how incredibly good this damn quarterback is, how strong he is, how tough he is, how resilient he is, how big he is. I mean, you're watching this dude stiff arm multiple players throughout this game. And he is putting the team on his back, throwing, like you said, on one ankle, across his body, moving to his left, throwing to a 5'2" Darius Davis, seemingly. Darius Davis is just doing a scramble drill. Shout out to him for making this happen. Darius Davis turns on the jets coming out of the side of the play. Justin Herbert anticipates it. I thought he was throwing it away at first. Nope. Exactly over the second. I mean, I've never seen that. I have never seen that. Superman returns. Justin Herbert went crazy. A lot of people in the chat are talking about it too, Jake. I think the part that was awesome to see in that game was at the beginning. I had a slide up here earlier.
I wish that this play either came later in the game, or if the Chargers did not start as slow as they did offensively and get themselves in a hole, we would be talking more about this play. But I'm glad you brought it up. First of all, Scott Matlock had himself a game. But how many of you on your bingo card in the first 5 minutes of the game would have expected to see Scott Matlock not only catch a pass, but then run downfield and juke defenders for a first down? 6'4", 295 pounds of Scott Matlock. He's doing more than just being a two-way player, man. This guy's moving the sticks.
He's
by
putting
himself.
stuff on skates.
Look at him tuck that ball away.
I mean, he's sizing up Bart. He's like, all right, which way you going? I'll make you look like I'm going this way. Whoop! That no one saw that. No one thought he had that in him.
Like when I saw that at first, I'm like, okay, well, here come the defender. I'm like, whoa. I said, here comes the. Oh, there goes the defenders. Okay,
there goes another defender. There goes another one. That and again, this is just a reception. You watch some of those touchdowns. You watch the touchdown to Gus Edwards. Matlock absolutely demolishes two linemen.
It's the final drive, the one that sprung Gus Edwards open for the 40-yard run that ultimately sealed the game. Look, as we were mentioning earlier, the interior of the offensive line just had a tough time, namely Bradley Bozeman and Trey Pipkins when it came to running lanes. And seemingly before that Gus Edwards run, Chargers' run game really just wasn't a part of this offense. They kept going to it with minimal success. And you go and you watch Scott Matlock on that block, just follows Bradley Bozeman through the center and takes out 2 defenders to help clear the way inside for Gus Edwards to just shoot up the middle. And he took the rest.
And that reminded me of that insane play in Seattle from Marshawn Lynch, where he just wouldn't go down. And he ended up taking it all the way to the house. I think all of us were a little nervous that there was going to be a fumble there as he kept going and going. And then low-key, that stiff arm he did 25 yards down the field. What? Absolutely amazing. And you're happy for Gus Edwards. Jake, I was so close to my bold prediction. I got the 2 touchdowns right. I got the carries right. I think I was 10 yards away from my bold prediction on all 3 fronts for Gus Edwards. I wish I put my money where my mouth is and put him on my starting lineup in fantasy. I didn't. Oh, well. Scott Matlock, though. I mean, we can go on and on and on about the unsung heroes in this game and the haymakers that were thrown. And I think that speaks to, and that caller previously talked about it, that's who this team has been. And they've shown glimpses of being, that resilient team, right? The one that responds, the one that could get you to the fourth quarter, take you off the deep end, and then drown you. We haven't seen this style of Chargers win in a long time. Not only was it a comeback win, but a big comeback win. Usually you're seeing this Chargers team squeak out games in the end. You're seeing them let go of big leads, having to barely hold on. This team had to fight its ass off to get back in this game and needed both sides of the ball. And that Chargers defense stepped up big time. Starting from, I think it was 2 series in the first half to end it, when the Chargers could have gone in and made a touchdown. Remember, it was 21-10. Chargers had the ball. They punted. You're thinking, great. Broncos have the ball. They can go up 28-10 and get the ball to start the second half. Chargers defense holds massive sack by, I think it was Joey Bosa, I believe. Chargers get the ball back. Have to punt again. Defense holds again. 3 and out. And that's when the fair catch free kick happens. Then the second half starts, and they give up 0 touchdowns and a field goal. That's it. 2 field goals, excuse me. That's it. The Chargers at one point go 24 unanswered, I think it was. That's a response. And that is a big boy second half performance from players, from coaches alike. We all gave so much crap, and rightly so, deservedly so, in my opinion, to Greg Roman for the style of play that he has been doing and for the lack of plays that we thought would work. And Jake, just like that disastrous bingo card that was getting filled up in the first half for defense, that bingo card was filling up quickly with how this offense adjusted. You saw quick throws. You saw screens. You saw protection. You saw folks doing things that we've been asking for months. And then you got to see Justin Herbert with a run game. They stuck with it. And then Justin Herbert with a run game in prime time goes Super Saiyan God mode. That's what you want to see. And that's why Jim Harbaugh came to LA. Was for that type of game. So again, hats off to everybody. Shout out to Ryan Ficken for remembering that. Apparently he goes through those plays with Cameron Dicker every Friday like a madman.
It's just a
Who
psycho.
does that?
He's a psycho.
Who does that? I mean, Hayden Hurst comes back, Jake. Massive catch. There are unsung heroes down the line. Poona Ford, again, doing Poona Ford things. You watch him blow things up constantly. Rashawn Slater, took who was arguably in the top 2-3 running for defensive player of the year and made him look like a JV player all game. Rashawn Slater, I believe, is top 3, according to PFF, of all tackles in the entire NFL. Joe Alt's going crazy. Stone Smart, doing Stone Smart things. Love to see it. Darius Davis getting his first touchdown of his career. Hassan Haskins, Jake.
Great play. Great play by him to make the rest happen after that shovel pass from Justin Herbert.
And Colin Cowherd said this, and I think this is what is missed by a lot of people. You know, we hear about Justin Herbert not being able to win the games, not being able to close it out, and we talk about the weapons and stuff that Justin Herbert has or doesn't have, the defense he has or doesn't have, the coaching. Colin Cowherd brought this up. Look at the guys who caught touchdown passes for him today, or from him in that game. You're talking about a backup to a backup to a backup to a backup running back who catches a shovel pass. And you're talking about a guy who hasn't caught a first touchdown ever. Both these guys get their first touchdowns of their career in this game. Stone Smart is out there. Again, backup to a backup to a backup. Like, Justin is playing riches with rags, it feels like at times. But that's what you expect from somebody of that caliber. And so to see that Chargers team on that final drive get that Gus Edwards haymaker, followed by the Haskins shovel pass that was... I did not think Haskins had that 1 foot and go step in him. When he planted, he put that defender into another universe. Turns on the Jets, scores 6. Chargers are up 10. It's all but over. Got a little interesting at the end. But look what Justin Herbert is doing, and look who he's doing it with. And so the way that team fought, I apologize for the long ramble here, but the way that team fought just had that entire stadium going nuts. I can't imagine what Chargers fans are doing on the couch. And you got to take a second and just appreciate. And I know we try to do that here, perspective, but that is not normal. The way that team collectively came together to win a game like that. Everyone.
It's another one of those games, Dan, where you can look at the Cincinnati game, you can look at the Atlanta game, and you can look at this game. And traditionally, those aren't games that the Chargers end up pulling out W's on. And it's everything from Jim Harbaugh to the rest of the coaches down to the players buying in that we're done with this. You know, I know you were at the game, Dan. Al Michaels felt it pertinent. I think it was in the middle of the third quarter that he started talking about just all the history of the Chargers blunders. He even brought up the Marlon McCree interception and just kind of started. Yes, he did. And started just kind of going down the line of the whole. I mean, remember where we all were a year ago when it was Thursday Night Football, same commentators against the Raiders. They were saying chargering on Thursday Night Football, Al Michaels specifically. And so he felt at that time that it was pertinent to start bringing up just all the blunders of the Chargers past that have just seemingly kept them out of success in the NFL. That's why I think just everything was so apropos, whether we're talking about, you know, critics, Fitzpatrick, comments like that, to then just respond in real time. Something that wouldn't have existed through previous coaching regimes. Unbelievable.
There were so many plays that I think Chargers fans were just like, I don't know if they had that in them. I did hear, shout out to the Guilty as Charged crew. Steve Hagel was saying how the announcers or the broadcast crew for Thursday Night Football was just relentless against the Chargers, and it sucks. But again, glad I was at the game because I didn't have to worry about that. A couple of questions here. Let's get to these questions and then some of the voicemails. Jake, you alluded to this to me this morning before we even got on the show. We saw people in the chat. A little tweet from Adam Schefter this morning. Apparently, there might be a receiver coming off waivers, possibly the Chargers. Jake, Deontay Johnson. Let's hear it.
So Schefter tweeted this morning, Deontay Johnson, he projects to be claimed off of waivers come Monday. He says potential landing spots include the Chargers and Chiefs, but then he finishes by saying, if he even makes it that far. First of all, I'm not sure if this is Schefter spitballing, trying to connect dots. Obviously, from the Chargers standpoint, it's been well documented on if you match their receiving core to the rest of the NFL, would it make sense for them to bring someone like him in? Yes. For the Chiefs, obviously, seemingly they just bring in anybody that nobody else wants, and you see what they're able to make out of it. I'm not sure if this is as much of projection connecting dots as it might be with some legitimacy behind it for the fact that he singled out those two teams in his tweet. Make it that what you will. But again, as he mentions, if Deontay Johnson makes it that far, two potential landing spots, the Chargers and the Chiefs. Now, Dan, you and I had this conversation back when the news was first breaking about the tension between Deontay Johnson and the Ravens in general and them sitting him and not playing him. And again, just surface level for me, because it's John Harbaugh to Jim Harbaugh. I don't know if the Chargers would essentially make that type of a move. But I also think
two sides of the coin.
I also think I go back to comments that were made by one Jim Harbaugh back in the beginning of free agency when Jim just says, when it's free agency time and it's time to build this team, I'm Robin and Ortiz is Batman. So I don't know. Stranger things have happened. Take that tweet of what you will.
Yeah, honestly, I think the Joe Ortiz John Harbaugh connection might actually be more interesting in this one, because Joe Ortiz has like the power. I mean, so does Jim Harbaugh, but in terms of like looking at players and building the roster, like that's kind of his thing. And he knows folks over in Baltimore who made those decisions. So it's not just a coaching thing. I'm torn. Deontay Johnson as a player, 10 times out of 10 times, bring him over here. Deontay Johnson as a presence, I don't know. He was suspended by the team for conduct detrimental to the team. I mean, clearly didn't work out in Baltimore. And, you know, people talk about him being a cancer and talk about him, you know, not being where I don't know. I don't want to speculate on that. But I do have a hard time thinking that Jim Harbaugh and company would bring in somebody that could possibly jeopardize the dynamic this team has in terms of like character and playing for each other versus self. And you go back to kind of like the reasons why the Chargers go back to the Malik Neighbors versus Joe Alt thing. You look at a lot of the Malik Neighbors quote unquote drama this year. And
look what just happened with the Devondre Campbell and the 49ers. It's for similar reasons like that Deontay Johnson found himself in the situation that he's in.
Look at the type of players that have been brought in by this staff this year, both free agency and the draft. They just don't match up to a Deontay Johnson personality type. They don't. Now, could they say to hell with it? We're doing it anyways because we need that in a locker room in terms of we need that on the field. Maybe. But in order for them to do that, the Chargers brass, coaching, players are all going to have to buy in that they are going to be okay with putting those other things aside because this guy's got talent. And that just hasn't been the MO of the team. Now, there's somebody in here, just claim Johnson so the Chiefs don't. Part of me is like, yeah, amen, honestly. Because that would be, watch him go to the Chiefs. and watch him ball out for the Chiefs. Because of course he would. I hope he goes. The part that was interesting, Jake, is he said that if he makes it that far, because you'd imagine it would just be a playoff team that would put in a waiver claim for him.
Makes sense. Yes.
So what teams would that be before the Chargers, who are already pretty relatively low in terms of playoff seeding?
Sure.
You've got the Broncos. Maybe you go for, I don't know, the Bengals wouldn't do it. Colts wouldn't do it. Maybe you go Dolphins, possibly. If we're taking the AFC, I don't think. Look at the NFC. Maybe. Commanders, possibly. Lauser Bruin says that. I mean, there aren't that many teams ahead of the Chargers in playoff contention that need a receiver.
There's not. But at the same token, if there's one thing that you take away from Schefter's tweet is that he fully expects him to be claimed by a team on Monday. That he says with a lot of certainty.
I do too, honestly. I mean, he's a good player. It just didn't work out. And I don't know if we'll ever know what happened in Baltimore, but I'm fascinated to know. Lauser Bruin says, Jake, I think when he refused to play and go after the injury for the Ravens, he cost himself money. I actually didn't hear that when he refused to go in.
He cost himself a lot.
Oh, he's cost him a lot of money for a lot of things.
In that circumstance. But yeah, that's why I brought up the Devondre Campbell situation, because they were similar types of situations, not mirror images of one another. Obviously, there's been different disciplines to each player, different situations in terms of what was happening, but similar in that respect. I don't know. I just don't know. If I was using logic behind it, I'd probably say it wouldn't happen, given the fact that you have Jim Harbaugh, brother of John Harbaugh, probably knows much more than anybody does about that situation. I'm sure that they have talked about it. And then you have Joe Ortiz, who, Dan, as you mentioned, knows a lot of people in that Baltimore Ravens organization who ultimately ended up making this decision. But at the same time, we are gearing up for a playoff run.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Who knows what could possibly happen?
Yeah. And it is weird because there's the macro and the micro of if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Right? Like George says here, Chargers have a good thing going. Just roll out what we have. Macro, sure. Micro, if you look at just the receiving core, is it a good thing? Do they have a good thing going in that receiver room right now? I don't know. Obviously, like there are more pressing issues, I think. You know what Chris brings up? Need interior offensive line. No one's coming through that door right now. That's going to have to be an offseason thing. But I kind of am with George. Like, this team has an identity, has a certain personality type right now, and has kind of this gritty, all for one for all type thing. And I just would rather not lose that.
Yeah.
But I also at the same time, like, do you think they would lose that? Would the leader of men type like Justin Herbert, Derwin James, Khalil Mack, Jim Harbaugh allow that to happen? Like, I don't think so.
But Dan, you also wouldn't have thought, given the fact that you have John Harbaugh as your head coach, who runs a similar type of ship in terms of building that type of winning culture, you wouldn't have expected something like this to happen, especially after they traded for Deontay Johnson at the trade deadline.
But but like player specific, you think about the alphas on this Chargers team that are like leaders of men, like Khalil Mack, Derwin James.
It's a different situation because we like to talk about how much the change of scenery for Christian Fulton, Elijah Molden, Tahir Tart has been from coming over to the Tennessee Titans to here. This is a completely different situation, in my opinion.
Yep.
To put a bow on this, I would be highly surprised if he ended up going to the Chargers. I don't expect it to happen. I'd be shocked, honestly, if they ended up claiming him on waivers.
Yeah, I guess to wrap it up with you, Jake, you've heard Jim Harbaugh talk a lot about he trusts nobody more than his brother. And I can't imagine Jim Harbaugh going against something his brother has previously done. Take it for what it's worth. Next voicemail. Got a lot of them. See what they have to say.
What's up, guys? Kevin here, also known as Squeezy in your comments. Just want to kick this real short. Greg Roman isn't the main issue of this team. Get this team some more talent. They'll be just fucking fine. Great fucking game. After that half, the way they adjusted, everything they did, beautiful. A fucking masterpiece. That's all I gotta say. Don't blame Greg Roman. He's fine. Just get some more talent. We'll be just fucking fine. Hold the fuck up.
Short, concise, honest, accurate. Lots of F-bombs.
Love it. Love it. Short, sweet, to the point. Love it.
Do you agree? Is it more of has it been a Greg Roman issue or personnel issue?
It's both. It's both. We're not going to sugarcoat that. We've talked about it times where, especially over the last month, you face a majority of man coverage against opposing defenses, and you had stretches where outside of Ladd McConkey, your weapons just were not separating. And Justin Herbert could not put the ball anywhere except to look for 15. And if 15 wasn't open, you were kind of out of options. Outside of that, you look at games like the second half of last week, or you go to the Atlanta game in terms of offensive schemes going up against that Falcons defense and ultimately what your defense had to do to carry you in that game. You look at the Chiefs from one half to the next. You can't play 2 quarters of football against the defending Super Bowl champs. You will lose every single time. So it's a little bit of both, Dan. I've mentioned this. Early in the season, I had always felt that there was going to be some growing pains with this team. They were going to stumble at certain times. However, when you had 14 games of inconsistent offensive production and hadn't seen 4 quarters of offense played up until Thursday night, it had become beyond a notion of a concern. It became a trend.
Yep.
And something that you didn't like to see. And that was why a lot of the glaring heat was going on Greg Roman, and in some cases deservingly so. And that's why I have to applaud Greg Roman for what he did on Thursday.
Credit where credit's due.
Coming off of an embarrassment of a loss against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, to scheme the way that you did against one of the better defenses in the league. And this is part of the reason why it's so funny that it doesn't make any sense, because Tampa Bay surrenders a lot of points and surrenders a lot of yards, and the math doesn't add up. And now you're going up against one of the better defensive teams in the league, and you schemed a terrific game and the best one that you've had all season long. And you did it without certain weapons. You did it without a starting running back. You did it with a quarterback on 1 foot. You did it after allowing 3 straight scoring drives to the opposing offense, and you were able to fight your way back. It's resiliency, it's response, and most of all, it's adjustments. So you got to tip your hat to Greg Roman for this one.
Yeah, and I hear a lot of people talking about, Justin throwing to 10 different receivers and spreading the ball around, who he's throwing it to. Don't look now, but Bo Nix did the same thing. Bo Nix completed passes to 10 different receivers in that game. Now, look at average depth of target, like it was not even close to the same. But how Justin was able to do this and how this team kind of rallied together and that complementary football starting to take shape in that second half, I thought was just a thing of beauty. And if I had to lean one way or another, I kind of would rather just ride with our horses and not do the Deontay thing. But I mean, it'd be exciting if they got him for sure. There's upside there, but it certainly comes with risk. As for Greg Roman, I thought he was great. In that game. That was the best play calling that we have seen from an offense so far this year. Again, Chargers at 34, they could have easily hung 40 plus in that game. Going up against the number 1 scoring defense, tied the Chargers in the NFL. So, Jake, you and I were talking about worst case scenarios prior. What if this Chargers team lays a dud, right? What if The offense is slow again, can't score. They limp into the playoffs, hopefully. You're not feeling good. You're not feeling confident in this team. But instead, they just rack up 34. Justin goes crazy. Offensive play calling looks fantastic. Complimentary football. Team shows heart, grit, resiliency. Does it really matter now how good or bad the offense looks these next 2 weeks? You just saw it against a stellar defense. Your confidence level is so much higher going into the playoffs because at least you could say, I've seen it. You've seen it. How high can the Chargers go in the playoff seeding? I don't know. We'll get to that here in a second, Jake. We'll talk about potential matchups, folks we want to see. Next voicemail. Got a lot of them here. I don't know if we're going to get to all these today. Next voicemail. Let's hear what they say.
This is JT in Iowa, and I'm trying to think of the most annoying things in the NFL. The Arrowhead, the home of the Chiefs. But you know what's the most annoying thing in the history of football? The Denver.
Whoa. Oh, here we go. Ready?
Incomplete. And you know what? That last play by Justin Herbert for the win was incomplete. See you later, losers. Broncos suck. Go Chargers.
I need that. My life feels incomplete without more of these voicemails.
That was great. Just to show the reason that Justin Herbert just heaved that ball in the air to end the game.
Suck it, Broncos.
Great.
Incomplete. Take that L. Next voicemail, Jake.
Hey, Jake, Dan, this is Thomas from Lakeland, Florida. Just wanted to say, woo! We got this. We got it. Post game. All I gotta say now is bolts up. You fellas enjoy it.
Oh, we're enjoying.
Appreciate it. Hope you're enjoying it too.
Saturday morning, Jake. We didn't ask folks in the chat. What are you drinking today? Not last night, not during the game, but currently. I got coffee. I'm staying awake. I didn't sleep well last night.
I had coffee of the alcoholic variety last night.
I had coffee that tasted like alcohol.
Yes.
Oh, wait, it was alcohol. It tastes like, whatever. Next voicemail, Jake. Let's roll through some of these.
Who got it better than us?
Ready? 1, 2, 3.
Nobody.
Buddy. That's what I'm talking about. Ryan Fitzpatrick, all that bull crap he was talking about Herbert. He can't put no team on his back, even though he done beat Burrow and all that kind of stuff. He got Burrow on the Mount Rushmore and all that bull crap with the top QBs. Put Herbo up there. Herbo got the better record this year, and he had to put the team on his back because they had no running game. Boom. What you come out there, light the team up. He got the little ankle, the huge ankle brace on, looking like he got elephantitis, and he's still running all the way. Beast. Bolt up, baby, on to New England. Let's clinch these playoffs.
Love it. Love it.
Nobody. I want to make that as a ringtone. I love the hotline. This hotline is my favorite part of this entire show, Jake, honestly. Jeremy, love this voicemail. Everybody, Jake in the chat, everyone, nobody! Athir's here, has Modelo. Jake, Athir's been a kind of timeout.
Is that this morning or was that last night? Let me preface. My coffee was last night. And I had a lot of coffee.
My coffee was last night.
Coffee.
Next voicemail. Let's just keep these rolling. Next one.
Hey, man.
Chargers good. Sorry, I was going to say, if Athir was waking up with a Modelo right now, then Merry Christmas. Let's go.
Yeah, man. We could just celebrate Victory Friday.
Or Saturday.
I don't even know if that's a thing. Bolts up, man. That's a real gutsy win right there. Man, we basically in the playoffs. All we got to do is handle our shit. I don't mean to cuss, but I'm hyped.
Hey, compared to the other ones we got going, you are a saint and a scholar, my friend.
I'm hyped. I'm feeling a certain way. A dub is a dub. We 9-6, and as long as we can get past, who is it? The Raiders, and as long as we can get past the New England Patriots, we're good. We're good. Bolts up, baby. Bolts up.
Yeah, Dan, it changes everything for the standpoint of the Chargers winning that game on Thursday. Not only can they clinch a playoff spot this week if Miami loses, if Indianapolis loses their respective games, but you go into New England next week and you handle business. Essentially, by that point in time, given all the other elements, you could be in a great position on the final week of the year to rest a lot of your key players.
Dreams.
And Dan, here's another thing that I don't think that we were able to highlight from yesterday, especially just on the defensive side of the ball, because you knew you didn't have Cam Hart, who was out due to his second concussion. Elijah Molden not playing this game.
We have to talk about this.
And outside of the running plays that were given up defensively and some of the busted plays just in terms of not tackling, Chargers did a good job as far as not allowing Bo Nix to really heave the ball downfield. And you see those adjustments in terms of what was allowed in the first half to 6 points, and I think it was 117 yards in the second half. The pass rushing adjustments, putting Tahir Tart next to Poona Ford, changed everything on the interior pressure. Jesse Minter dialed up a lot more blitz-heavy packages and where they were coming from in that second half, which again alleviated a lot of things in the secondary. I thought Christian Fulton overall had a very nice response, given the game that he had against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, which was not good. Collectively, given the fact that you had Denzel Perryman on the field for seemingly felt like 2 minutes, you still had to weather that storm on top of it. And his presence not being out there surely has been felt when it comes to the opposing team's running backs over the last month. So again, to do this and to make these adjustments with the personnel that you didn't have out there defensively when you were already in an 11-point hole, Jesse Minter turned it up in the second half.
And look who he's turning it up with. I mean, did anyone know who Kendall Williamson was prior to this week? You've got Dean Leonard out there now. You've got Marcus May in and then out. Tony Jefferson is your starting safety alongside Derwin James. And they say, screw it. I'm putting Kendall Williamson out high so that we can put Derwin back in the box.
Jim Harbaugh's favorite name on the roster, DiCaprio Boodle, was out there.
Look, I mean, this is, again, what we're talking about with like the roster, right? And the horses. Look at the names. Some of these guys aren't even on this team last week. And this Chargers team is doing it. Denzel Perryman comes back and then not back. They've got a Boygby, who's kind of been a ghost this entire year. Was in there, I think, for one tackle, if I remember right. You got
Marcus May was in and out of the game.
Like, and this Chargers defense did that. And again, we're talking about, let's go play by play here for a second. Look at these drives. Last drives starting late second half, Jake. 4 plays, 19 yards, punt for the Broncos. 3 plays, -2 yards, punt for the Broncos. That long play to start the third quarter. Just 47 yards, though, field goal. Next one, 3 plays, 3 yards, punt. Next one, 6 plays, 20 yards, punt. Next one, 3 plays, 4 yards, punt. Next one, 33 yards, field goal. That's it. That's it. Chargers defense, with who they had to do it with, in the secondary especially, you got to tip your cap to Jesse Minter. And say what you will about those first 3 touchdowns they gave up, man. Shout out to Steve Klingscale. Shout out to Bowman. Because that linebacking crew, again, you're working with Troy Dye, Junior Colson, Deion Henley, because Nick Neiman at times. I mean, what they are doing with this crew is just amazing. Jeremy, yes. Minter, please stay. Please stay. I don't want to jinx it, Jake, but I think he does. I think he's staying. Sweet Jump says, Herb and DJ willed it. 100%. 100%. You saw DJ post-game, Jake? Just running all over the field.
I think you had said it weeks ago, Dan. This is the happiest that you have seen Derwin James seemingly since he's been with the Chargers.
Yep.
And it's what you saw on the field, on the post-game show at the booth, and then seemingly after every Chargers victory when they're all in there, and Jim Harbaugh's breaking everybody down. Derwin James seemingly gives Jim Harbaugh like a hug every 30 seconds before that whole speech is done with. not just on Thursday, but I'm just talking in general. He is so happy to be a part of this team right now. And his leadership and everything else has, I think, bled through that locker room in the best possible way, and you could see it in his play.
Jake, we got Broncos fan in here. He says that free kick was BS. What about it was BS? It was your player who hit the player that caused a personal foul. It's in the rule book. Was it wild? Sure. Have we not seen it in 50 years? Fine. But your player hit the penalty. Well, I'll talk about Mile High says refs won. Missed me with that. I will fully admit that, in my opinion, was pass interference.
Nine times out of 10, that's pass interference call. I will not debate that. That should have been a flag. I was very surprised that there wasn't one thrown.
Very surprised. But there were some penalties that were picked up. There were flags that were picked up. There were some calls that were not made. There were some touchdowns scored by said Broncos who were complaining about the refs that shouldn't have been touchdowns. So it went both ways. It went both ways. Mile High says, but as long as you beat the Chiefs, I'm happy. We're in this together. We are in this together 100%. But this is the other part, Jake, and this is what I found similar to the Chiefs game. Broncos did good. Like, that's a good team. Like, you go back and watch, Bo Nix played about as good as he could. No interceptions. He played pretty efficient. The Broncos had a running game for once. There really weren't that many blunders.
There was a reason why we were worried about this game heading into it.
It's a good team.
It is a very, very good team, and in a similar situation to with a young quarterback that they have over there that is still devoid of some weapons that they could use offensively, much in the way that Justin Herbert, we talk about what year one of Jim Harbaugh is to what year 2 and year 3 is going to look like with different personnel. Same thing for the Denver Broncos team over there, but their defense is legit, and you have a quarterback in Bo Nix who essentially at one point in time was in the rookie of the year conversation with Jaden Daniels as far as this overall quarterback class. So I said it leading up to this game. You were going to see a very different Bo Nix than you did when you played him in week 6. And I felt like you did. He was efficient. He was mistake-free, essentially. It's a good team. And there's a reason why it's been nearly 15 years since the Chargers swept the Denver Broncos. It's been a long time since that's happened. And it was a hell of a game on Thursday.
Yeah, I'm with you. I will say, you caught the big run it on the play sheet from... That was so stupid. And it totally bit him in the ass, too, when, ironically, they just said, never mind. I'm not running it in the second half. It was good in the first half. You're yes. Good idea.
Yes and no, but Dan, this has essentially been the idea of opposing offenses going all the way back to the Baltimore Ravens game. Atlanta came early with it with Bijan Robinson the following week. You saw the Chiefs doing it and how ultimately they were just able to wind down that clock by positive yardage, putting everything into third and short situations, making it easy for Patrick Mahomes to convert. You saw what Bucky Irving did to you single-handedly last week in the Tampa Bay game. It would make perfect sense. And I thought those first several drives, hell, even in the beginning of the third quarter, that the Denver Broncos had a great game plan and they were executing it well because, truthfully, in that first half, Denver Broncos were owning the trenches. The pass rush was seemingly non-existent. You weren't able to stop any of the running backs, whether it was Williams, whether it was Estime. You weren't able to do it until you didn't. And that's when we talk about all of these things in terms of response. How do you go out there and make a play? How do you go out there and you make some of those defensive adjustments to stop the bleeding? And thankfully for the Chargers defensively, they did that, and it gave their offense an opportunity to go down and score 21 unanswered points and get them back in the ballgame.
I didn't see this, Jake. Matt Waters, shout out to Vidal for decleating a Bronco on Justin's 18-yard keeper. I got to see that. I mean, again, Justin put them on his back on a gimp ankle, is running, and he, instead of just going out of bounds, he wanted the smoke. He took that shot, got right back up. I mean, this guy is I don't know what he's made of, but it is something different. It is absolutely something different. The second Broncos touchdown brought back Herbert to Eckler memories. Same play, Lombardi playing the hits. Second Broncos touchdown. Was that the rollout in the flat on the right side to running back, I think? Yeah, that looks like Eckler. I'll give you that. I think that was when he had Thule. And Thule was kind of in no man's land. We either went to the quarterback or went to the running back. Either way, he was screwed. Look, soda popped 101. Oh, I like that. All I know is the Chiefs don't want to see the Chargers or the Nuggets play, or the Broncos. Chargers or the Broncos in the playoffs.
I mean, you can't argue that, honestly. If there's one thing that we're in solidarity in, when you look at the ways that the Chiefs have beaten the Chargers and the Broncos this year, a blocked field goal when it was basically a chip shot when the Broncos had done a great job to get that ball into scoring position, and then the doink for the division, which really pissed me off the following week that the Chiefs ended up getting Harrison Butker back, and then Butker is going down on one leg and missing field goals the following week after the doink for the division. Yeah.
Sky Gray. Justin makes some of these throws look so easy. I don't think people ever realize how ridiculous his ability is. It just looks so effortless sometimes. Many NFL fans don't see that. And many NFL fans just don't watch Chargers football, and they just look at box scores. And that's okay. Let them, whatever. Don't get triggered anymore. It's not worth it. You know how good your quarterback is. Absolutely unreal. Next voicemail, Jake.
Ryan Fitzpatrick is clenching his teeth doing this post-game show, knowing that he did something wrong. Anyways, Justin Herbert came up, won us the game. Don't lose hope, guys. Even, we're already exceeding expectations. Let's just have fun. Ryan Fitzpatrick is
Let's just have fun, Jake. Let's just have fun. Exceeding expectations. Ryan Fitzpatrick is eating crow. Next question.
We already talked about the Ryan Fitzpatrick thing. Again, just in perspective. I know what everybody wants to talk about in terms of offensive line needs to perform better. Dan said earlier, as we've said in general, nobody's coming through that door right now in terms of changing anything for that. This is the least amount of talent at the weapons that Justin Herbert has probably had since he's been in the NFL, and most likely will have the rest of his career.
I hope.
But to think that you're now in a better position than essentially that you have been since Justin Herbert has been in the league, back in the days when you had Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, Austin Eckler. Coaching changes everything and is able to elevate seemingly low-level players that were considered possibly mediocre, and as we've pointed out in the show, unsung heroes to come in and help you win a pivotal game with playoff implications. Coaching has been devoid of this team since the days of Marty Schottenheimer, and it was all about talent, and you'd hear so many people talk about the Chargers are one of the most talented teams. They could do something this year. And it never ends up happening, which is where this whole idea of charging came from in the first place. Look what you're doing now without seemingly that batch of talent.
Mm-hmm.
It's something to be admired, really.
It is. Again, giveaway. We'll be announcing it on X, but you guys are first clue, first to know. Hit the like and subscribe. You have to be a subscriber to qualify for this. We'll send out the details. But unsung hero, we talked about it, Josh Palmer. We have a signed, custom Josh Palmer jersey here. Unsung hero from Chargers victory against the Denver Broncos. And we'll have another one next week, Jake, just because, it's the holidays. We're in a giving spirit. Look out for that. Question: which team are we going to face in the playoffs? A couple ways to look at this, Jake. Which team do you want to play in the playoffs at the beginning? And which team do you realistically think we're going to get based on the seeding? I know what I want.
I know what you want.
And it might be against what other people want, but I don't care.
Probably. and I'm actually a little bit torn on this because if you look at the Steelers, which I think a lot of people would want a little bit of revenge off of that when you think about how you lost that game and the elements that went into it. Justin Herbert getting hurt, Rashawn Slater getting hurt, Joe Alt getting hurt. And that second half just kind of turned on its head, and the Pittsburgh Steelers were able to take that one over. You'd want a revenge one like that. And then you see the way Russell Wilson playing now without George Pickens and the Steelers starting to stumble a little bit. They're still a great team. Defensively, they are still just nails. And TJ Watt is not somebody that any team would want to go up against. On the flip side of things, Houston's defense isn't bad either. And they seemingly have a lot more weapons. And I could see the wheels turning in Dan Wolkenstein's head right now. Much in the way that I was infuriated to watch Zay Flowers last year destroy the Chargers and put that game away. I could see the wheels turning in Dan's head right now that if it came to playoff football, something tells me that Dan Wolkenstein is going to put a prop bet on Tank Dell scoring a touchdown against the Chargers in some capacity, which would absolutely demoralize.
I honestly didn't even think about that yet. Oh, no, I didn't even think about that yet.
So
there are two teams I want. There are two teams I want.
I know the other one you're thinking of.
The Texans. I think if you can get to the 5, which I think is still mathematically possible, and get the Texans, I think that's probably the one you would want. If it's not the Texans, I want to play the Chiefs again. I want to see them play the Chiefs again. And that's what everybody wants. I would love to see the Bills get the 1 seed, Chiefs get the 2 seed or the 3 seed, whatever it is. It wouldn't be 3, it'd be 2. And the Chargers play the Chiefs. I'm down. I'm down for that.
Whatever playoff matchup gets you to the Chiefs, how about you take that?
Like honestly, if someone told me that I can guarantee I'm playing the Chiefs in the first round and I'll just not win, like I'll just lose the last game regardless. Give me the 7 seed, but you play the Chiefs and you're healthy. Everyone rests. I'm doing it. I'm doing it. J.K. Dobbins is on his way back. It sounds like he might come as early as this week.
I believe it is, because even when he went on IR, I think it was the week of the Falcons game that they had already announced that everything as far as his timeline for return was set up, that he was going to come back for the New England game. So I don't think this is going to be a situation where, the practice window is open, but he ends up sitting out the game. I fully expect J.K. Dobbins to be out there on the field next week.
Yeah, we'll see. Next voicemail, Jake. See how many we can get to these. Here we go.
San Diego Superchargers. It's San Diego Sincere here. Hey, last week we had a lot of in-the-moment casual fans that was ready to go ahead and write us off. But guess what? We're fresh from the game at SoFi, and we battled, and we were resilient, and we fought adversity, and we came up victorious. All I got to say is, once we punch our ticket into the playoffs, anything is possible.
Anything is possible! Shout out to Kevin Garnett.
Never forget, the injury-riddled Bengals made it to the Super Bowl before they got swept by the Rams. Also, their 16-0 Patriots got defeated by a mediocre New York Giants. I say that to say, once the ticket's punched, anything is possible. Bolt the fuck up.
Whoever that was in the background that was starting the chant again, let's go. Let's go.
Let's keep these rolling. Chargers Unleashed Hotline. Next one.
Hey, what's up, Dan and Jake? Man, this game was an absolute roller coaster of emotions. In the first half, I know you guys were all like, God damn. It's the same game. Offense.
I was thinking a lot more than that. God damn.
And it's going. I'll do little flashes of it. And the defense doesn't stop nothing at all. And then, I don't know what happened in the locker room. But damn, Justin Herbert, after that interception, it was like Mahomes when he's trailing by 10 in the fourth quarter. Man, this guy was hungry. Every time the camera pointed at him, he was like doing a death stare. Damn.
Death stare.
Are you not entertained?
Damn.
Yes.
I like that guy.
I like that chick. I like that guy.
We beat a fucking playoff team. Everyone thought like, damn, we're bad. We're good, man. We have to take this dog and tell ourselves we beat a good team who deserve to be in the playoffs. And we will get to 11-6, like Jake said. And eventually we'll get to the playoffs and maybe make a statement.
I love the slow build and maybe make a statement.
And
maybe make a statement.
Here's the one thing now moving forward, Dan, because I know that obviously the Chargers have seemingly they're so close to actually clinching their playoff spot, and obviously that will end up taking place here over the next 2 weeks. It's what I want to see over the next 2 weeks is you build off this game for a multitude of reasons, just to once again show the resiliency, much in the way that it was matched in the Cincinnati game, much in the way that it was matched in the Atlanta game when you seemingly didn't have an offense. Moving forward, Dan, you want to carry over some of these successes that you had. And I don't care if it's against the New England Patriots or the Las Vegas Raiders. In order to make a actually legitimate playoff push, not just getting in the door, but in order to make noise while doing so, yes, you scheme up for different opponents differently every single week. We've heard Greg Roman talk about this. We've heard Jesse Minter talk about this. And as of right now, you will not know who you ultimately end up getting for the playoffs, probably until the final week of the season. But just in terms of in general, moving forward, you got to take elements of what you had offensively and defensively on Thursday night and put those to good use and be able to still go back to some of those plays and those opportunities to get Justin Herbert in a position to where not only he can make plays, but to scheme guys open. I expect your running game to improve dramatically in the next 2 weeks. And hopefully that is a catalyst of what you carry into the playoffs as well. But use this game as a building block moving forward.
Yep. I agree. Daughter got in here. Avery, can you say go Chargers? You look beautiful. I love your princess dress. I will. We're almost done, honey. Okay. Jake, next. Voicemail. Let's get to it.
Oh, what's up, guys? I meant to call after the Buccaneers game. Oh, this is the guy that screams into the phone in agony, by the way.
Here we go, baby.
Yes. Now I know who this
I meant
is.
to call after the Buccaneers game, but between getting out of a 4-year relationship and getting blown out of the freaking water, 40 to whatever the score was, it doesn't even matter. It's been a rough weekend, and I don't get phone privileges of the psych ward that I'm admitted to right now. But I'll tell you what.
Wait. He's on the phone, so I think he's kidding. I hope he's kidding. For the record, if you are not kidding, please get help. And I'm so sorry. I'm so happy the Chargers got this victory for you.
You've had a rough week. Nobody deserved that win more than you.
Both up, guys. Great.
Oh, man. Okay. I think
Oh, what's up, guys?
All right. That was a long one, so I have to close off. Next one.
Both up, guys. Great game. Love the show. First time I've called this season. Dan, Jake, you guys are great. You're right there at the top with Lowe and Matt Money and the Charger media. Love you guys, man. Just wanted to throw a couple of little
Real quick. No, we're not.
First of all, no, but appreciate the kind words. Definitely.
Yes, thank you.
No, we are not.
Points out there.
Even close.
I mean, look, I'll take it. If he wants to lie to my face and say I'm great, sure.
I keep listening to a lot of people trying to find out or figure out what the identity of this offense is. And I remember Greg Roman coming in on board, and he told the media when they asked him, is this going to be a run-first, run-heavy identity? What's the identity of the offense? And Greg Roman specifically told them the identity of this offense will be dependent on the games that they play week to week. There's no identity. They have a winning culture. This team has a winning culture. Win or lose, they lose games. They still have that winning culture. Let's love our nation, love the Chargers, stay fired up, and I know we're on a winning team. So, hey, guys, you guys have a great Christmas, and keep up the good work. God bless.
Same to you, man. Thank you so much for calling in. Really appreciate that. Appreciate just the love for the Chargers fans everywhere. It's a different culture. Culture is a word that Chargers you haven't had synonymous with the Chargers in nearly 20 years, and it shows.
Yep. Let's keep these rolling, Jake.
Hey, what's going on, guys? This is Gerald G Money from Connecticut.
Friend of the show, G Money from Connecticut.
Regular caller, love it.
I got to tell you, what a great win for the Chargers. What a great response after last week's big disappointment. Jim Harbaugh, he's the man. I mean, he's got this team changing the culture, believing for this organization for the first time in a long time. Justin Herbert carried his team on his back and put on a great performance. The defense struggled early in the first half, but then that Cameron Dicker kick, that kick for 57 yards, that really jolted the team.
I think that jolted the entire country watching that game, world watching that game. It's like, what is happening?
It's because there was so much buildup to it. You know, the commentators are confused about what's happening. And then you actually have a decision on what type of play you want to run. So the Chargers have to take time to do. And essentially, it's at the end of the half. There's zeros on the clock. So you've got all the time in the world to make this decision. And they took a while before they even went out and kicked it. And then even when Dicker, remember this? Even when Dicker went out to kick it, this was the best part, Dan. I'm not sure if you saw this. This was a great tracking moment on the actual game. He goes out there to kick it. The Broncos call timeout to ice him. And the camera follows Cameron Dicker because he runs to the sidelines, puts up the kick prop, and puts one in the net really quick, folds it back up, goes right back out, and drills a 57-yard field goal.
Ice this.
It was one of the best camera moments I'd ever seen in any type of game that focused on one player. It was awesome.
Yeah, that was – Cameron Dicker is something different, man. That guy has to be – I mean, I don't know how he wouldn't be an all-pro kicker this year. I don't get it. Given the moments he's been in, given the kicks he's made, like what? Literally historically great run right now that Cameron Dicker's on, and you just ride that cool as the other side of the pillow.
The defense stepped up and played fantastic. The offense, I think, all game long was very solid. Now at 9-6 and have the tiebreaker over Denver, that's the number 6 spot, and inching closer to a playoff spot. I want to know what you guys think. I love you guys. You guys do great work. You guys take care. Vote up. One love.
Appreciate it very much. Thank you. Dan, overall, it's kind of what I was saying a couple minutes ago. Everything about this game in terms of the resiliency and the response from the Chargers was phenomenal. Justin Herbert hit a different gear. Unsung heroes in this game. The biggest takeaway for me is how do you take this and how do you build off of it? Because we've seen them play inconsistent before. And this is not me trying to bring the mood down a little bit, but you go from that really emotional win in Cincinnati, given all the elements that were in that game and how the whole flow of that game ended up happening. Then it was Baltimore the following week. Then you had the Atlanta game where your offense just couldn't show up, but your defense carried you. You say, okay, well, how does the offense need to respond? And then you have a slow start against the Kansas City Chiefs. And ultimately, in the fashion that you ended up losing that game, and then a 40-burger gets dropped on you from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Embarrassed.
Take what you did in this game and use it as momentum to ride into the playoffs. It's the best thing that I could possibly say.
And now you think back to those midweek press conferences after that embarrassment of a loss, and you think back to what Greg Roman talked about and what Jesse Minter and Jim Harbaugh talked about of kind of putting it on themselves to make it not a trend, acknowledging the embarrassment, pushing through it, being resilient. How do you respond? Like they knew the task at hand. And then to spot 21 and to then realize after that crazy sequence with the kick, like, we got this. You heard players afterwards, post-game, say, literally, once that kick went in, we knew we had it. That's belief. That's buy-in. That's resilience. That's grit. That's all those fourth quarter things happening that you saw at training camp. Like, that was not a Chargers victory we're used to seeing. It's just not. And I think that's what made that so euphoric for me, honestly, at that game. This doesn't happen to us covering this team, to fans watching this team, to the players playing this game. You think about Derwin, how happy he is. You think about Justin Herbert and what he's been through and how hurt he was in the brace and him pushing through in that "are you not entertained" moment in that game. You think about Joey Bosa getting the sack in that game with all he's gone through. Josh Palmer struggling so far this season. Miraculous catch. 2-point conversion. Quentin, massive catches as well. Gus Edwards pushing through. Huge. Darius Davis gets his first catch. Hassan Haskins doing the dirty work. Scott Matlock. Tyre Tart. Poona Ford. I mean, the list goes on and on and on and on and on and on and on. How many dudes contributed to this? Dean Leonard. Tar Heaps still. You got Elijah Molden out. Cam Hart out. Alohi Gilman out. Marcus May out. Asante Samuel Jr. out. And they're still doing this as a secondary. Absolutely unreal. And this is with this roster. Like, this is the part that's wild to me. Jake, you and I talked about this a couple weeks ago. I would rather have an average roster with superior coaching than superior roster with average coaching every single time. And at some point, you need your horses. You need some dudes, right? But when it's all said and done, coaching can make up for a lot of bad stuff.
Dan, I go back to something that Mike Lombardi said on the Pat McAfee show before the season started. And there's not a lot that I actually agree with Mike Lombardi about, but he was spot on when he made this statement. This was before training camp started. This was after the draft, leading up to it, just talking about what teams could possibly make noise. He said, as it relates to the Chargers this year, it's not going to be about who has the most talented roster. With Jim Harbaugh at the helm, it's going to be who has the most connected roster.
Yep.
And Dan, you've talked about connection multiple times this year,
especially
in terms of just how it feels different compared to previous coaching regimes. You have to say that that notion has been met in spades.
I mean, we can go down the line. We talked about Scott Matlock earlier, gave him flowers. Lad McConkey, I mean, the dude is going to break Keenan Allen's rookie record for Chargers history and receptions and yards. Like, the guy's unreal. DJ Chark, people bringing up his block on the run. I mean, Kamani Vidal had some good runs, had a great block. I mean, it goes on. Stone Smart. It goes on and on and on. Hayden Hurst. Like, it is unreal. We're not even talking about the big horses. We're not talking about Derwin and Justin and Khalil and Joey and Rashawn. Like, touching those guys. What this team did and who's doing it is just a masterclass in what coaching does to a roster. Chargers Unleashed Hotline. Got 3 more. Let's plow through. 323-902-7586. Victory Saturday. After a victory Friday. After the Chargers victory on Thursday. Next voicemail.
Gentlemen.
Jake.
I always like a voicemail that starts like this.
Me as I take you on a journey of Chargers past.
Oh, God, dude, this sounds like a 30 for 30 introduction right now.
I like this. All right, everybody buckle up. Here we go.
They're up 3 scores, third quarter. Go 3 and out. Immediately the other team scores. Makes it a 1-point game. You get that feeling in your stomach. You know the Chargers are going to lose. But it's not a quick turnaround. It's a slow burn. Slowly, the game starts to chip away from them, only for it to be lost in the final seconds of the game. You leave heartbroken. You lay there thinking to yourself, what could have gone different? It's an experience that we've all felt too often.
I'm getting sad.
Pause, dude. First of all, can this be like on an audiobook or something like this? Like
narrate my life.
Just imagine closing your eyes and just listening to this and just having to visualize everything. Going back. Let me take you on a journey. What if I told you? This is brilliant. Keep going.
But not today.
Not today.
Not today.
Oh, I screwed it up, Jake. I hit the play
Gentlemen,
button and then pause button. Hold on. I'm going to let this ride for a little bit. Speaking of fast forward and get to it. I legit think I want to have this be like a reoccurring theme. Someone has to give us like an audiobook version of the history of the Chargers this season alone.
Give me this with the piano to the introduction of the Last Dance documentary. Dun,
Yes!
dun, dun, dun. It seems like it goes perfectly with this.
Yes. Let's see where we're at.
Gone different. It's an experience that we've all felt too often.
Here we go.
But not today. Today, we were fortunate to experience the other side of that. The Chargers.
The autumn wind is a pirate. Says Jeremy L.
Chargers down 8 points in the third quarter. The first time they touch the ball in the second half, they are down 2 scores. They go down, they score, and then force a punt. And you get that feeling in your stomach.
Oh, here we go. Here's the arc.
And win this game. But you don't believe it because it's unfamiliar. You don't trust it because you haven't seen it enough. Like a child who got their heart broken by their first love. You just...
Time out real quick. First of all, this is beautiful. Was this like a thesis statement or something like that for a term paper? I don't know, but I hope it was. This is phenomenal to listen to.
Can't trust it, that next person to come around. But the football gods, they start to give us little things to make us believe. Big conversions on third down by Hayden Hurst and Justin Herbert with his legs. Penalties that go our way. Roughing the passer.
Brian Billick post locker room speech.
Then another penalty that happens where probably could have been a personal
this is one of the few ones that we're allowing to roll for so long, just because it's just such a beautiful recap of the game. I know we normally say keep it at 30 seconds.
It's too good.
This is great.
I remember my first love, brother, says Brad.
Call against Sahib still, but the Zebras kept the laundry in their pocket. They didn't throw the flag. They were still alive. The football gods were shining down on us. But the one moment to make us all believers was Palmer's catch for the 2-point conversion. That moment, we all knew. It was like an angel of God coming down and just kissing us on the back of the ear saying, you're going to win this game.
Biblical.
Angel of God kissing us on the back of the ear. I actually cried.
Dude.
So good.
And it was glorious, boys. It was absolutely glorious. I'm ecstatic. I love it. What a game. What a way for Herbert to put his team on his back and said, not today. Not today. Question. If the Chargers secure a playoff spot on Sunday, is it wise for them to considering sitting all of the starters or most of the starters against the Patriots game to ensure that extra rest, or is getting that 6th seed too valuable? Thank you. Love you. Go Bolts.
Oh my gosh.
First of all, you talk about a recap for the ages and done in such a dramatic fashion.
Not today.
And using angels coming down and kissing you on the ear type of analogy.
The ear.
Unbelievable. Very well done. And then he finishes off, question. After my recap, question. So good. To answer the question,
wow.
I believe that, a lot of dominoes still left to fall to determine what is going to take place in terms of the Chargers either clinching a playoff spot this weekend, depending on what happens with Miami and Indianapolis. To me, if we know Jim Harbaugh with 2 games remaining, I don't think that he's going to let them rest for 2 weeks. I don't think that he's going to allow that much to chance to take place. So to me, I feel like he's going to have them play against New England, and you'll assess the situation at that point in time to then make a determination on what you do against the Raiders game. But I fully expect the entire team to be out there ready to go against New England. Based off of where everything stands at that point, you make your decisions there. So he'll have his team ready to play next Saturday.
Oh man, I'm still coming down from that. That was so good. Thank you so much for that.
Again, dude, somebody edit that together with some piano music in the background, namely the piano music from the Last Dance documentary. And that's a recap.
Wow. All I gotta say is wow. Okay, next one, Jake. 2 more. We're almost done.
Dan, Jake, this is...
Okay.
The patriarch of positivity, who caught a little bit of heat last week after the Tampa Bay Buccaneers game, Athir, is back.
Athir is back. He said he's no longer calling. He's done with this team's fan base. 2 days later, he's back. I am almost done, sweetheart. These voicemails are going crazy. We have 2 more. Athir is back. You're in timeout for an hour and 40 of this show, Jake. Athir, excuse me. The floor is yours. We welcome you back.
You. I want to start off with this. I apologize for my rant.
Well done.
I love my Chargers fans. I am a big fan of my people. They are my family. I am sorry about what I did last time with my voicemail. I was just a little upset. I will say this. Yes, I had expectations a little bit for this team because I thought the offense was going to be better. I did not think it's going to be an issue. I apologize for that. I have tempered my expectations. But I do love my Chargers fandom.
Fear hasn't stopped the Modelo since sounds like it.
They are my family. But what I just wanted to ask is, where was the Chargers fans when we had terrible Coach Staley? Where was these voicemails? That's all I wanted to say. Give Coach Harbaugh benefit doubt. Give him a little bit of respect. Show him some love. Let him build this team the way he wants to build. Okay, and let's see what happens next offseason. I still believe they're going to be playing in Super Bowl San Francisco, and I'm not changing my prediction. And that's all I'm going to say. I'll leave it at that. Thank you. I love you.
First of all, apology acknowledged and accepted. Appreciate it.
Chargers fans probably appreciate it too.
Yeah.
We're all in our feelings. Everyone's in this together.
Look, and going back to what he was talking about, where was Chargers fans during previous coaching regimes, namely the Coach Staley regime? Look, there was a lot to be frustrated about in a 3-year window, given all of the things that took place, both from a coaching standpoint and from a front office standpoint. And again, blessing in disguise Thursday Night Football 1 year ago in a 63-point ass kicking.
Absolutely insane.
And to have on national broadcast in a primetime spot, the announcers talking about chargering. That changed the culture of the Chargers for the foreseeable future. Because we know what happened the day after that game, and we know what happened just a few short weeks after that. Since then, things have been different. And as Dan and I have said, coaching and culture specifically is something that has eluded this team since Marty Schottenheimer. It's changed the game.
Yep. Go Sun Devils as well. Shout out Jeremy. Jake, I can't believe my Sun Devils have a chance to be in the championships with us.
You're hyped. Let's go Scatterboo.
Yes. Brad Spicoli, my girlfriend just asked me what I'm laughing so hard about. I can't stop laughing, crying. I told her I'm winning Tiger Blood, and she is laughing now.
Oh, my God.
So good. All right, we've made it. Last voicemail. Again, Chargers Unleashed hotline was crazy. Want to get to all of them. 323-902-7586. Leave us your voicemails with your predictions, your thoughts, what you're grateful for, feelings about this team, whatever it is, questions. We'll get to it on the next episode. We've made it, Jake. Last voicemail on the hotline.
Oh, what's up, guys? I meant to call after the Buccaneers game. Oh, this is the guy that screams into the phone in agony, by the way.
Oh, okay.
You played this one already.
Is this one done? Did we get through the end of it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we did it. We did it. Shout out to live episodes for mistakes at the very end. Gotta love it. Fans, listeners, viewers, Chargers fans. Oh my gosh, I cannot believe the Chargers got out of there with a victory. 9-6. I think we went through everything. We went through the coaching adjustments. We went through the post game for He's a Jolly Good Fellow talk. We went through unsung heroes, Justin Herbert, God mode, Cameron Dicker doing Cameron Dicker things. Chargers resilient, response required, response given. Was there anything we missed?
Not to my knowledge, Dan. Honestly, there's so much wrapped up into this game in terms of just the elements alone. It's again, my takeaway here, and hopefully my closing statement as it relates to this is you've had those moments of adversity that you have been able to overcome during this year that traditionally other Chargers teams would not be able to do. Namely with this game, considering the fact that this is probably your best offensive performance that you have put out against a good team with a good defense. Learn how to carry this moving forward.
Yep.
And as you start getting players back where we're at in the season, everybody's talking about, J.K. Dobbins coming back. Alohi Gilman is eligible to return off of IR next week as well. You hope that temper the expectations given the conditions, because having 2 concussions in a short period of time is a very scary thing. But whenever you get Cam Hart back, hopefully that's sometime soon. I will not put any guarantees that he will be out there next Saturday, but hopefully you get him back soon. Hopefully Denzel Perryman is able to, whatever setback that he had during the game, you end up getting him back. Anybody who's been following Simu Fehoko on Twitter
so good
is itching for an opportunity to get back into this roster. If you get into a spot now where you're putting together wins and you're making a playoff push at the right time, because you've heard people talk about this, teams that get in and also get healthy at that perfect time have the potential to do something, have the potential to make noise. And right now, the Chargers are right at that position to possibly have that. So, fantastic win. Carry the momentum these last 2 weeks.
Yep.
We'll see where everything stands as far as the Chargers playoff seedings and their position and who their opponent will be here in the next 2 weeks. This was a good one, Dan. This was a good one. I don't care the fact that we have gone an hour and 50 minutes, nearly 2 hours on this show. This is great listening to you guys in the chat, listening to your guys' voicemails. This has been phenomenal. I posed this idea to Dan, and I'm not sure what anybody's Christmas plans are, but I posed the idea, we did this last year, of a Chargers Unleashed holiday special. So much like in the way that Jim Harbaugh said, we'll see you on Monday, you might see us again on Monday. And we're just talking, this will not be a preview episode. Just come with whatever you got. And we will do our best to answer all of your questions. If you want to call into the hotline, please do. Let's just have a nice holiday. Bring your eggnog, bring your coffee,
quote unquote.
Bring your coffee, and let's talk some football on Monday morning.
Look, this was fun. This is one of the more fun episodes I think we've ever done, Jake. The hotline was incredible. Shout out to some of those. Thank you all for the kind words as well. This has been such a fun ride this season, and hell, the last 5 seasons that we've been doing this now. Holidays are a special time, and not to get sentimental and mushy-gushy here for a second, but there's a lot of shit going on in people's lives, good and bad. And there's a lot that we can be sad about. There's a lot that we can be frustrated about, but there's a hell of a lot that brings us together. There's a hell of a lot to be grateful for. There's a hell of a lot of joy in this life. And from us to you, from me to you, Jake, from everyone of LAFB, thank you all for the kindness, for the happiness, the joy, the frustrations, the feelings, but the togetherness that this season has brought us. And we're very grateful for all of you. Enjoy the holidays. Have a Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, Kwanzaa, Hanukkah, whatever it is. We love all of you, and we're just getting started. This is just the beginning. Please do us a favor. Take 2 seconds. Hit the like and subscribe. Helps us out a ton. We have a giveaway that we'll be announcing here shortly. Other than that, enjoy football today. Go Texans, first and foremost. Hopefully we see Dolphins, Colts lose. Chargers can kick the feet up. And we can start talking playoffs. We are not talking the draft yet, Jake, and I am okay with that. We're close. We are close. Bolt family, says Brad, has been through it, and it's our time now. Merry Christmas, everybody. So long, everyone. Stay grateful. Eddie's cooking tamales. Monday, he's going to go get some ganja, according to Brad. We got all kinds of fun happening here. Look, Jake, this has been fun. Love you, buddy. Chargers fans, y'all are the best. Until next time, this is a lot of fun. We'll talk to you on the next Chargers Unleashed. Merry Christmas, happy holidays, happy Kwanzaa, and we'll talk to you in the new year. Stay safe, have fun, and we'll talk to you next on the next Chargers Unleashed.